engaged. Autopilot standing by.
Okay, so this is gonna be round 1 of the OTS championship. I lose the dice roll, and I thought, from recollection, I thought I was going up against Fire King, because that's what Josh was playing last time I seen him play, and he just reveals track. Someone's Lurie. I'm like, okay, Fiendsmith. Okay. Oh, then he reveals Maliss. I was like, what the hell? I was not expecting this. So I was like, okay. Well, I mean, my side is pretty much geared toward this matchup because it's just it seems kind of obvious of how to side against this deck, like just Lancia and Chaos Hunter. It just seems like there's no debate about it. It just established that you have those cards in your side. Post game 1, you put them in, and then it should make the matchup a lot more simpler, right? You don't have to like interact at a particular point, like Ash, Imperm, you just Lancia, or you just drop the Hunter, yeah. So then he links off. My hand is no hand traps in my hand. All I have is just engine, so I'm just gonna try to crack through his board, setting up his entire setup. Because I know as of recently, like fairly recently, that Bow was introduced into the deck. They ended up going for the Griffin Lock, having the revive, the pop. It's an insane setup. It's layered in a sense that not everything is exposed. You kind of have to play into the board and then slowly kind of get hit by the banished spot removal. So it's very weird, which is why Lancia and Hunter are just insane versus this matchup. Because if you're trying to like Imperm, Baylor, Ash them, there's a possibility that they have the extender, like whether it be the Bistio that you tried to prevent from them banishing or them summoning, you know. Bell's not bad. Bell's a card that I've been using against this matchup, but it just feels like Lancia and Hunter are just extremely, just far better. And then he goes for the Griffin. Then he goes activate Griffin effect, discarding. He pushes a Chessy Cat, sets back the trap that specials from Banisher Grave, summons Bow, activates field spell. So his hand was pretty insane. Yeah, so like if I had like Valor Imperm, like, I don't think it would have done much. His hand was just too good. And then he just has filter as well. Get rid of the redundancies, get rid of the extra field spells. Digs deeper for hand traps. And I'm just trying to bluff here. I'm just trying to kind of shift the dynamics of how we're sequencing and the pace of him doing it, and just give like a bit of contemplation to debate. You know, like oh, what? He has something here. it didn't take long, just a few seconds, but just enough to get the thought in there. You know, and he activates engage. Then sets. And sets 4, and I'm like, okay, I know 1, I know anchor, so I'm like, the hell, this is insane. Bow comes back, I draw into Hollowed. Oh my, okay, okay, first and foremost, I am playing 60 cards, so I drew this damn card like a lot that day. So I start with Fenrir because it opposes the most threats. He goes activate Bow, discard the Druis, brings out the Griffin, and I just tribute summon for my Sofador, sending. I'm just trying to bait as many interactions as possible because I think it's rather difficult to deal with a Griffin and all those interactions, right? And then he goes summons his White Binder back. He then banishes my graveyard. I'm like, okay, there goes that. There goes that extension, right? Summons back his guy. Effect to add the field spell for follow-up. So then now I'm just trying to see how can I do this because I still can use special summon effects, right? So I'm just trying to push on. So then I activate Birth, attempting to revive my Fenrir. just to apply pressure. I activate, he then chains. The one that adds and then banishes. So now I'm like kind of stuck here. I'm like, okay, so I know he has anchor and I know he has IP still. So let's see how this goes. I activate deception because at the end I'm like, well, I think it's just gonna come down to getting access to a Typhon and then hopefully, but I know that he has Dormouse. I know that he has field spell, so he just has insane follow up, and I still have to deal with that anger. So then this baits that, and then I'm like, okay, well, let's see what this goes. I make a minor misplay here. I should have put it under the MZ so I can possibly use the effect. Yeah, that's like a minor technical play on my part. But I attack. He had a dropless no matter what. So he had a dropless anger. He had so much. So I just ended up scooping. So then we go to side deck, and I know exactly what to do. Right? You just, like I mentioned earlier, you just put the triple Lancia, triple Hunter, and I'm putting the Cold Buy and the crossouts because they're gonna be shouting Shifter. I mean, not Shifter, Lancia versus you. So then you can just Cold Buy or cross out the Lancia. Take out the Drolls because they're not necessarily good against him. I think I end up keeping one just in case he sides Droll from me, so I can cross out it or Cold Buy it, and then take these cards out. Take out the Droplets as well. Take out Nibiru because I feel like Lancia. I feel like these are more important than those cards. I still kept some of them in there just for cross out targets, but for the most part, I feel like these are just way more beneficial, far more beneficial, especially. Because they could just turn skip compared to... It's a bit weird with Nibiru because they can kind of push through it. Oh, also, here is a showcase of how I shuffle 60 cards. Because that's like the only thing I don't like about playing 60 is the amount of shuffling that you have to do, right? So I cut them in half, shuffle each as if they were 40 card decks, and then get a bit of both and then mix it with the other and then finally do this, right? and then offer them the cut.
Dual mode.
So then we start.
Autopilot standing by.
Game 2. My hand is what I was hoping. Oh, see, I drew hollowed again. I keep drawing hollowed this day was insane. So this is why Terra Top is insane, right? Because it's not only giving you access to your Crystron cards, it gives you access to Enchanters, which is insane. It's just an anomaly. Like, well, wouldn't you just? It makes Terra Top an insane card, like far better than what Pure can use it for, right? Because in Pure, it can either be a 1 card SP or 1 card starter, whereas this one you have one more element, right? It's an Omni, which is insane, and that's was like it was like a no-brainer. So right here I'm debating whether I want to go for combo or do I want to go for the Enchantress, and I think I end up going for the Enchantress because I wanted to keep it simple. Because I did not want to like sequence my turn in a way where I can possibly end on nothing to protect the Hunter or the Lancia. So I'm going for this because I assumed or I anticipated that he was anticipating that I was trying to get into my Crystron engine, and I just pivot into this to make the Ash probably like redundant, like because he was probably holding those interactions for Crystron cards, but. This would basically kind of play around that because that means he was waiting for that and then never showed. So then he's like, okay, well, damn, I should have just asked the Enchantress, you know? So I end up setting up my Omni to ensure that my Lancia or my Chaos Hunter resolve. And then next turn, I just use Cherry Bean's effect and then dump Engine. You know what I mean? So that's why I took this route. It's very simplistic. You know, because like if I went for the Crystron route, there was a possibility that I got hand trapped to like for everything and not end up anything, and then him have a counter to my Lancia or my to my Hunter. So then he starts, he sets, he summons. I'm pretty sure that's Chessie Cat. I think he activates to discard a Maliss card to draw 2, banish a Maliss card to draw 2. I chain Lancia. He chains Druid. I'm like, hell no. And he changed a trap, and I'm like, oh crap! Okay, right here, I was gonna get a word here. At this point, I was like, okay, damn, did I just cook this? Because I was like, no way. Because the thing with Maliss is that You want to make sure that they have the least amount of bodies. So like you want to keep them. You want for sure. You want to keep them off 3 bodies, because that's what gets everything going. Right, and then the exception is Splash, because Splash can revive, but you can deal with Splash with like an Imperm or Railer, but dealing with 3 bodies is a bit more weird. So then he has Thrust. I'm like, oh my god, am I just gonna lose now? Like, what the fuck? There's no way I lost with Shifter and Omni. And then he gets Tactics, and then he chooses to take, and he takes my token. I'm like, okay, that's fair. So at this point, I'm like, okay, well, he can't banish. He can't extend with Bestial, so he attacks into my Cherubini, and I'm like, okay, I'll just save. And then right here, I should have saved. But I was like, why should I save if he just attacks with the other one? You know what I mean? So I'll just keep my Fateful. But I learned later that that other guy can't even attack. So I'm like, oh my god, are you serious? I just make the biggest misplay. So I was like, oh my god. So I'm like, okay, well, I think I just lost. So then I dropped the Hunter on the Whitebinder, and I'm like, okay, now that the tactic is gone, my Hunter is safe, right? I don't have to drop it and be fearful of him taking it and linking it away. You know what I mean? So like that was like a heads up play there, because I felt like Lancia was enough, and I can drop it in the later turn, which is what ended up working out. And I draw into Engine. I was like, oh my god, I got bailed out by this Smiger, because now all of his traps he can't call by the grave me, so I'm not scared of that. I pitch for Smiger, affect Smiger, pop itself, and then I affect the graveyard. If he has Ash, it doesn't matter. I have Smiger anyways. So like he needed multiple interactions, but I know his sets. So I'm like, okay, here we go. I go Smiger effect, giving me Inclusion. Inclusion activates, giving me access to Sulfur. And then I go, okay, effect Sulfur, pop my Inclusion. Special Sulfur, effect Sulfur, dump 2. I think, I dump Cluster and I dump Turtle. Turtle was insane all day, man. I like Turtle. It seems unnecessary in a vacuum, right? It seems like, oh, it's not necessary, but in a practical sense, it's insane. I go Alesk effect adds back a banished or a Crystron card from banished or grave. So I add back the trap. So think of like Alesk as like Gazelle and Wolf. Basically, Gazelle, Sulfur is Gazelle, and Alesk is Wolf. It adds back the archetype trap. And one thing you'll see here, you'll see in a later video when I show the deck profile, where I am only playing a very peculiar ratio with Adventure Engine. Yeah, you'll see soon enough. So I play it safe. I don't want to play to Nibiru. I don't want to lose this Hunter. So I stay under 4 summons and I set. And I think I'm like, this should be enough. Like if you had an Imperm, you would have Impermed earlier, right? Unless he's trying to like prevent like a Hunter from stopping him, right? So I was like, that's what I was kind of scared of. I was like, okay, well, if he has Imperm and something else, I'm like, I think I'm kind of cooked. So all I'm doing now is just waiting for multiple bodies to hit the field so I can use my cluster. Because any extension is through banish, right? He can't extend if you can't banish. He summons Dormouse, and then I'm on summon. I flip my cluster, pop 2, and I'm like, okay, this should be fine. This should be enough. Like, this should be enough. There's no way. And then he just scoops. So we're going to game 3. Siding is a bit different because I put in the Storms. Because I think like Storm and Hunter are insane. Being able to storm them and force them to use their back row and spam their bodies, right? And then chain Hunter, that means they can't banish, which is like the majority of their spot removal.
Standing by.
I felt like that was a pretty good situation. So then he starts off, and he took a while, and he was debating on what to do. And then he finally sets. He activates a field spell. Banish the Dormouse, and I'm like, okay, just don't have tactics or thrust, and this should be fine because we were approaching time. I think there was like 5 minutes left on the clock. I think at this time, there was five minutes left on the clock, and I've gone burnt by this matchup. Like, oh my god, because they get the one that gains life. So I'm like, oh dude, like I think I just lost because we're approaching time. Like I don't have a burn. I don't have any burn things. I'm not playing Dark Strike Fighter. I can't burn him for damage. But then he just sets and passes, and I'm like, oh my god. And if you notice, I make one minor mistake, technical play. I should not have banished the Griffin. I should have discarded something else. I should have gone chain 1, Chaos Hunter, chain 2, Griffin, right? And that's 2/7, so I can make Dracozac. And yeah, that was my mistake, but either way. GG, Josh. Fuck it out.
So I was gonna go storm and then chain this whenever you summon a guy. Like, yeah.